Good day, gentlemen and ladies. Um, we are Voice of Men 360, but the Voice of Men requires voices of men and women all around the world. So we are Voice of Men, but we welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to our presentation for Voice of Men 360 as we represent International Men's Day. International Men's Day is represented annually on November 19th, and we are proud to adapt their principles and work together for the betterment of men. I'm RJ Horner, your host and facilitator, and I have the great honor of hosting this event where we at Voice of Men 360 have gathered some prominent speakers from around the globe. And we're going to have several discussions over the next several days leading up to International Men's Day. So I'm going to move into our announcements very quickly, and then we'll get into our speakers for today. Again, our agenda, we've had 6 days of transmissions to the world about International Men's Day from Voice of Men 360. We are on day 4 right now of 6 days, leading up to November 19th, which is International Men's Day. I want to just take a moment to thank our sponsors, Right Choice Professionals, Wood Gold LLP Barristers and Solicitors, Macamet and Agostino Mortgage Group, and DF Credit Solutions for settlement, credit proposal, consumer proposal, and bankruptcy. Thank you for our sponsors for making this happen. We do have an art competition where you can tell your story of International Men's Day through your art, whether that be physical art like drawings or paintings, or a performance art like a theater or a production, or some writing like a poem or article or short story. So please, I'll talk to more about that throughout the show. But we are Voice of Men 360, and we have ongoing talk shows all the time with men out there. We want to hear your stories, so please reach out to us and share your story with us. For interviews, so we can have your interview and share it with men out there in the world. And of course, we are a not-for-profit organization, so we're always looking for different people out there, different industries, different corporations, speakers, authors who have who want to get involved and help make this something greater. So we thank everybody for that, and we're always looking for volunteers as well. So if you want to get in touch with us, again, we are Voice of Men 360. You can find us at www.voiceofmen360.org. Our email is info@voiceofmen360.org. We have Facebook group of the same name, voiceofmen360.org, Voice of Men 360, I apologize. And of course, our YouTube, where you can find these videos. Maybe some of you are watching live, but please like and subscribe for our videos. And then today we have quite an exciting agenda for you. We have Brendan Haradine, who is a retired lawyer and science teacher, currently resides in Southern Australia, and he's the founder Enough Male Bashing. We have Michael Stewart, who's a motivational speaker, published author. He's the Caribbean coordinator for International Men's Day and the World Day of the Boy Child, a founder of men's advocacy group called Be Men. And he's going to speak on a powerful topic right now is men's prostate cancer. We also have Steve Kerr, who is a peace officer recognized by the United Nations. He's a gifted storyteller, and he has a love of humanity that's it has sparked a movement called Hugology. We also have Mohammed Camran, who is he hails from Pakistan, currently a law student. He works in human rights in he has a club called the Peace Club in Pakistan. So, and then of course I will have a part in today's show. You'll get to hear from me again. I'm RJ Horner, and I'm going to be talking about betterment of mankind. That's our lineup for today. Again, I want to thank Voice of Men 360 for putting this together, and International Men's Day for giving us something to follow. I'll read our pillars of International Men's Day so you can get a feel for what we are about, what we're discussing, and why we're discussing it. The 6 pillars of International Men's Day. 1, to promote positive male role models, not just movie stars and sportsmen, but everyday working class men who are living decent, honest lives. 2, to celebrate men's positive contributions to society, community, family, marriage, childcare, and the environment. 3, to focus on men's health and well-being, social, emotional, physical, and spiritual. 4, to highlight discrimination against men in areas of social services, social attitudes, expectations, and law. 5, to improve gender relations and promote gender equality. 6, to promote a safer, better world where people can be safe and grow to reach their full potential. Thank you, International Men's Day, for giving us a mission to follow. We're going to move right into our discussions today. So I want to introduce Brendan Haradine. Of course, you just heard he's a retired lawyer and science teacher.
RJ.
Yep.
Quick announcement, special announcement. We have a birthday boy here, Mohammed Camran. It's a birthday. Today is his birthday. So
Mohammed Camran, happy birthday to you, sir.
Happy birthday, Mohammed.
And now that we got that little bit of business out of the way, please welcome Brendan Haradini. He's a retired lawyer and science teacher who lives in South Australia with his wife and daughter. And he's a founder of a group called Enough Male Batching. Brendan, welcome to the show. Thank you.
Give me 1 second, Brendan. Right. Let me play the...
I believe we have a PowerPoint presentation to come up as well.
Yep. 1 second.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see the presentation? I made the PowerPoint.
I'm in Adelaide, South Australia. You can see on the map, Adelaide is the capital of South Australia, down the bottom there in the red circle. I'm sitting here between two good men. I've got Hugh Thompson, who intervened to stop the massacre in Vietnam at My Lai. And on my right, I've got Chief Justice Earl Warren, who gave such notable decisions as Loving in Virginia and struck down the laws that banned interracial marriage in 1967. So it is a privilege to be here. I am, over the years, in my experience, I've been a teacher for 20 years and a lawyer for 13. From those experiences, I've formed the view that men in Australia, and I gather in America and other countries, that there is a cultural attitude that it is okay to hurt men physically, emotionally, and financially. And I've thought long and hard about why that's so. And I think the answer lies in a genetic makeup. Genghis Khan, for example, he had about 1,500 children. There's people vary on that, but most authors say that he had at least 1,000 children. Now, if you have 10 men, if each man has 10 children, then that means Genghis Khan, at 1,500 men, he displaced 150 men. So if that was a common practice, that is, the Genghis Khan experience was a common practice, that would mean that over 99% of men are expendable. Now, I certainly don't refer to Genghis Khan as any kind of role model. He was a brutal killer, really. But the reason I refer to him is that it demonstrates the extraordinary reproductive prowess of men. Now, evolution doesn't ignore such things. So men, unfortunately, evolutionary and biologically speaking, men are expendable. We've got a picture of Genghis Khan up there at the moment. Now, you imagine the situation where you had 30 tribesmen go out after a woolly mammoth and half of them got trampled and gored. There would be no problem with the women of the tribe left back at home reproducing. So the situation is that men have got this extraordinary reproductive prowess. What has our culture done with that? Well, what it's done with that is that men get sent to wars. I've got a slide up from Stanford University saying that there was a massive battle, or there were massive wars between 5,000 and 7,000 years ago. And the slaughter was so intense that the male population was reduced to about 1/20th of its level. And the population of women was largely unscathed. So we have a culture where men are sent off to war, where men are imprisoned. I have a slide showing the capital punishment rates for Texas, for example, recent rates of Texas. Perhaps if we can move on to the next slide. There's a demonstration of a slide showing the wars. That was a depiction of the Battle of the Somme, where something like, thousands of men, it might have been 20,000, were killed in about an hour. Certainly it was thousands, and the detail at this point eludes me. But so we have wars, men are sent off to war, men are killed via capital punishment by about, I think it's about 3% of women are on death row compared to men. And men also, of course, themselves involve ourselves in very poor practices, such as risk-taking and the male suicide rate. There's the slide showing the death by numbers. We've got 216 on death row, and 6 of those are women, and those are Texas examples. What my point is that I'm looking to raise an awareness that men have enormous genetic pressure, about 7 million years of evolution, pressuring men to behave in particular ways, and certainly pressuring cultures into the idea that men are disposable. And less dramatic examples of men being treated badly, that it's okay to hurt men, can be found in the family court. Typically, in the family court, a woman will be treated chivalrously and her ex-partner will be treated fairly harshly. That's a small example of the way the family court treats men. But there was an old nursery rhyme that I read as a 7-year-old. It said something along the lines of, little girls are sugar and spice and all things nice, and little boys are made of snips and snails and puppy dogs' tails. Now, when I read that as a 7-year-old, I wasn't impressed, and I didn't realise that some members of the family court seem to think that's their constitution. So we have Genghis Khan showing reproductive prowess. The other issue, and good on the United Nations for advocating that against the death penalty, because primarily the death penalty is the male death penalty. Allied with men's behaviour to take risks, such as going out and taking down a mammoth. If there's an intruder in a house, men know immediately that it is their job to go and confront that and risk their life and confront that intruder. Now, it would be absolutely useless if men were going out to take down a mammoth or stop a saber-toothed smilodon, I think they're called, from predating the tribe. If men got worried and anxious and jittery about that, that would be very counterproductive. So with this evolutionary programming of men to take risks and risk life and limb, there's also a stoicism. So that is, you don't whinge about it, you don't get anxious about it, you suck it up and get out there and stoically get involved in the task that you have. and whether it results in your death or serious injury, that is the role you play. However, in today's culture, we don't have saber-toothed tigers predating the tribe. We don't have to go out and kill woolly mammoths. Hopefully, most men don't get involved in wars. So stoicism really now is a major problem for men, that when a man is hurt, in family court matters, a number of men who have had their children taken away from them, they've been made homeless, childless and jobless, for example, by false allegations, have quietly gone out and killed themselves. Now, stoicism is one of our enemies today, that on my website, Enough Male Bashing, the tagline is "Silence of the Rams no more." It is time for men to speak up and say enough. And instead of quietly hurting, we need to express that hurt. And there will be resistance to that because we are not programmed in that manner. And indeed, you have men saying toughen up and making comments like that, such as suck it up, tough it up, come on, princess, when a man shows sensitivity. And unfortunately, if a man does show sensitivity, other men and our natural programming finds that quite uncomfortable. So often when a man really does need support, he might be shunned a bit because of the discomfort that his emotional sensitivity is causing in other men. So the suicide rate is around about 75% in Australia and in the UK, I notice. So men need to start talking and talk it out and show their sensitivity and realise that the program we are carrying is being created by millions of years of evolution and is not in our best interests anymore. We have police. If somebody's causing a hassle, you don't personally have to go out there and take them down most of the time. You just call the police. That's their job. So what happens with men, unfortunately, the programming is still there. So when men get stressed and get involved perhaps in family court breakups and are treated poorly by the family court, which is a common complaint, then the situation is that men allow that to happen to them and often quietly just take the pain and the injury and the upset. And really, we need to change that and just stop being basically marionettes to our genetic programming. So you've seen probably David Attenborough's nature documentaries, and you see the respect they show a silverback gorilla. Don't look him in the eye. Play with a piece of tree. Don't threaten him in any way. Otherwise, he might well go into his protective rage, and then you'll be in trouble. Well, modern culture is unfortunately putting men into a lot of stress, and that stress has got nowhere to go. So it's okay to talk is a common theme in bodies that are trying to combat the male suicide rate, because men basically are telling themselves that it's not okay to talk. If you start whinging and expressing emotions, then you're pathetic. Now, today, that is a major problem. It's no longer necessary. It's causing us great damage. And the other thing is that there's and I've got a slide up of men taking down a mammoth, and that is their job. That is their genetic programming. And you see some of those men in that particular depiction have been injured, but bravely and ferociously taking down that mammoth. But what I was about to refer to is that there's an unfortunate thing that pervades amongst parents that little boys should be tough, and little boys can have their feelings ignored and can be treated quite harshly. Well, there's an adage which is very true. Psychology 101 is that damaged people damage people, or if you like, hurt people hurt people. So men need to be treated kindly right from day one. And this impulse to create, to toughen them up, to create this macho or masculinity is not necessary. That a little boy's emotions need to be respected. We have a slide of a silverback gorilla with his baby, and he's there, relaxed and calm, but no doubt watchful. But any threat to that child, his protective, fierce programming will erupt, and he will risk his life. And there was a recent case in the last 3 months where some people over in Africa are in trouble because they killed a silverback, and their defense was that he attacked them. But silverbacks generally don't go out of their way looking for trouble. That would not be a good genetic and survival behavior. That his programming is to protect his group, his family. So, if you think that things are not programmed onto the genes, we've got a picture of a cuckoo there. The cuckoo lays its egg in another bird's nest. What we see there is that cuckoo, the baby cuckoo, no feathers, eyes still shut. It is flicking out the eggs of the real bird the actual bird that made the nest. So the cuckoo is a parasite. The mother has laid that egg of that cuckoo in that nest. She didn't build that nest. The nest belongs to another bird. But already, without learning anything, that cuckoo is murdering the foster brothers and sisters by flicking them over the side of the nest. There was also an amazing case of the Jim twins. They were separated. They were identical twins. They were separated at about 3 weeks and adopted out. They got back together at about 39 years of age. Both of them, both Jims, had been married twice. Both of them married a woman called Linda first, and then a woman called Betty second. They both had sons called James Allen. They were both heavy smokers. They both drove Chevrolets. One was a security guard and the other was a deputy sheriff. The similarities between the Jim twins is absolutely staggering and suggests what might be on the genes far greater than a fairly basic programming that men are programmed up to risk their life, to keep their mouth shut when they're hurt and not complain. And it really is time we stop doing that. We are doing ourselves a grave disservice in modern culture where all that programming is not necessary. And the bottom line is we've really got to stop being genetic marionettes to 7 million years of DNA and evolution along those lines. Look, thank you very much, and my privilege to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to have a talk. All the best.
Brendan, thank you very much. I totally resonate with your story. You know what? I was a child who liked to have my voice heard, and I was emotional as a child. I was, and I was dismissed. I was, a whiny baby, or go away, or you ask too many questions. This is the attitude I was taught as a child. You know what I mean? So growing up, we send our men messages, right? And I think that's what you're trying to get at, is that it's time we started treating men as human beings too.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Realizing and focusing, realizing the bad press is not based so much on a reality. It's based on a million-year-old attitude towards men. And there are great men around. And as I said, I have Hugh Thompson over here and Chief Justice Earl Warren over here. Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. There are many great men out there, and I think that's what we're talking about here for Voices of Men. We're trying to represent those quality men we have. So our next speaker is the King of Inspiration and a peace officer accredited by the United Nations. He's an International Guinness Book Award-winning speaker and author of 7 books. Powerful Steve is a gifted storyteller that will ignite the passion in you to achieve your maximum potential. He's created an international movement called Hugology. He's a spiritual leader in his community. Power Steve is Director of Community Development with the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. Steve Kerr, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It is a pleasure and an honor to be a part of this movement. It is a movement, the International Men's Day. I'm told now there's 90 countries that is recognizing this movement, and with our push, the entire world should be recognizing. I thank the foregone speakers who spoke very well, and wonderful statistics on the calamity of the dying breed of a man. It is almost seems that we are becoming extinct. I truly do agree, and I thank you for the statistics. I had no idea that we hold 75% of suicide. That is astronomical, and that was very shocking to my soul. I knew we were above female, but I had no idea that it was a ratio of 3 to 4. So thank you very much for that. I myself can really, I don't have to go into a lot of statistics because my life in itself is a part of statistics. I grew up in a home with my mother and my father, and essentially the years in which I lived with my dad, never once did I hear him say, "I love you." I mean, never once did my dad actually hug me. And matter of fact, I was told that, men do not cry, and men do not complain. They just suck it up and do it, right? There's a war, we got to suck it up, and we just got to fight the war, right? And it's noted, as he said, that these acts are pathetic, right? And so, keep a stiff upper lip and things like that. So that's the environment I grew up in. And so I can really relate to what he's saying about men going off and taking their own lives, especially when they lose access to their children. I come to learn and understand that the primary function of a man is to raise his daughter and raise his son, that they can actually come to him and say, "Thanks, Dad, I will take it from here." And so if a father is taken away out of that role, that can mentally destabilize him. So definitely I can see those statistics to be bang on and true. I was doing a lot of meditation on the present situation, not only of man, but the present situation of the world. And I'm specifically talking about the pandemic that is upon us. And, here we are told that we got to stay 6 feet away from each other, and we got to put on a face shield. And if that's not enough, we got to put on a mask. And if that's not enough, we got to isolate ourselves for 14 days. And essentially what the world has become, it's become so fearful and antiseptic. Nobody don't want to connect. Nobody don't want to reach out. And I realized that the state of being is just another episode of of one dying. I've also been told that the suicide rate has gone up 4 times since April of this year. So through my meditation, I started to think about how I can make a difference. It was just really me. How can I make a difference? And I remember back in 2014, when I was campaigning for city council, I knocked on a door and this gentleman came out, and I did my regular gesture of sticking out my hand for him to shake it. And he grabbed my hand, he pulled me in, and he hugged me. And I then smiled right away, but then I said, that's an interesting salutation for meeting someone for the first time. And then he said, there are healing properties in a hug. And that resonated with me right away, because being a spiritual leader, I do believe in the point of contact. They teach us that, the laying on of hands and so forth. And the gentleman that I was speaking to, he was a naturopath doctor. And he then said this that really blew my mind. He said, there are healing properties in a hug. And he said, 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 hugs a day for maintenance, and 12 hugs a day for growth. When he said that, that really resonated with my spirit. And so that day, July of 2014, I decreed and I declared that I wanted to grow every day. So I'm going to hug 12 people. So I began to hug my friends and my family. And it got to the point that when they saw me coming, they would just get ready to be hugged. Some of them even found me and hugged me. So I realized the power of that I actually changed their culture, let's say, because now they were coming to hug me. And so I was speaking to another friend of mine, and it just so happens that he is a doctor, Dr. Pravin. And when I told him about, 4 hugs and 8 hugs and 12 hugs, he then said 16 hugs to transcend. And I said, wow, that sounds good. Okay, let's make it happen. And so he moved me from 12 to 16. And then just 2 months ago, I was speaking to my spiritual mother, and I told her about the 4 hugs, the 8 hugs, the 12 hugs, and 16 hugs. And then she said 20 hugs for supernatural occurrences. And I went, whoa, 20 hugs in 2020. Just imagine if we all can break out of this realm of wanting to be away from somebody and to hug. But I realized that there's a lot of people that are afraid. So I said, listen, right now, gentleman that just talked, he's all the way in Australia. I geographically won't be able to get to him to hug him, but I could send a cyber hug to him, and I'm sending a cyber hug to him right now. Matter of fact, I'm not sending 1, I'm not sending 10, I am sending you 20 hugs, because I want you to experience supernatural occurrences. Now I ask you and I challenge you, how many people can you send a cyber hug to? I realize the power of your imagination. It releases the same endorphins in your body than if somebody physically hugs you, by telling them that you are hugging them. And because of who you are and the relationship, they will have the same experience. So it's not about the physical contact. It is about the intention of one heart. So I realized through internet, I could hug more people and change more lives with hugology. So I challenge each and every one of you, if you don't want the men to die, I challenge each and every one of you to come on board with me with hugology. I am going to say it again. Y'all write it down. 4 hugs a day for maintenance. 4 hugs a day for survival. 8 hugs a day for maintenance. 12 hugs a day for growth. 16 hugs a day for to transcend, and 20 hugs for supernatural occurrences. So there it is. That is Hugology. And I wanted to go across the world. It didn't start with me, but I realized in this season and in this time, we do need to activate Hugology. I want to thank each and every one of you. I'm on a film set right now, and I wish I could stay and listen to each and every one of your talk. But unfortunately, I gotta go. But I thank you very much for this time. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm hoping that one day I will look on my Facebook and I would see you all sending me a hug. God bless each and every one of you.
Powerful, Steve. Thank you very much for that. You know what? I totally agree with you. Hugs are one of the greatest gifts we have. And I love the Huggies commercial song. You know, it's my belief for instant relief, a hug is the best cure of all. I totally believe that. I think Powerful Steve does too. So, Powerful Steve, I'm sending you out virtual hugs. I'm a hugger too. And I think, you know what, if we do it right now, guys, let's everybody out there throw out some virtual hugs. And I think we can get 16 to 20 hugs right now. I'm feeling pretty excited about that. How about you?
Awesome. Thank you very much.
No, very good. Thank you for joining us today. You go do what you got to do.
All right. Thank you. God bless.
Our next speaker is a motivational speaker, author of 6 books, a media personality and communication consultant. He is the Caribbean coordinator for International World's Day and Day of the Boy Child. He's a founder of a men's advocacy group called Be Men, which stands for Be Male Examples Now. Mr. Michael Stewart of Be Men Group, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure being here. And, you know, I listened to the first 2 speakers. They were awesome. You know, I like that Hugology concept. The gentleman who spoke first and spoke about the whole background about men and enough of the kind of male bashing, right on point. Let me see if I could just get into my discussion on my journey with prostate cancer. As you know, the theme for International Men's Day deals with men's health and also health in our minds. And so when we look at it, we have to look at some of the things that probably cripple us as men. And one of them happened to the whole aspect of prostate cancer, which is of a higher incidence than it is in women with breast cancer. I want to just talk to you about my journey with it. Because a lot of men around my age are beginning to grapple with this whole aspect of prostate cancer. If you have a history of prostate cancer in your family or cancer in your family, it is good to be able to do early checks. If there's anything that I want men to leave with on today's program, is early monitoring and screening for your age-appropriate illnesses. The reason I call it age-appropriate illnesses, because as you age at different stages of your age, you will give you different inclinations or different potential for certain sicknesses. So therefore, do your checks as you age for what is most common around that age. Prostate cancer is most common for around 40, 45, 50. It used to be more 50 up, but they're now asking us to check in our 40s. So therefore, check. Why I'm saying this is because having had the experience myself, I looked back at my family's history. My family history said my mother had cervical cancer. She's now deceased. My aunt had pancreatic cancer, now deceased. My uncle had prostate cancer, now deceased. My grandfather had prostate cancer, now deceased. My grandfather's brother had prostate cancer, now deceased. My cousin had breast cancer, survived. How come she survived? And then my 2 cousins had prostate cancer, both of them survived. And my brother had breast cancer. Breast cancer, yes it is. Breast cancer for my brother. And at 84 years, he's still alive. So, what's the difference between the members of my family that are deceased and the members of my family that have survived. Early screening. My cousin, for example, was working in a bank, and because they were pushing breast cancer from the bank perspective, they were sponsoring the breast cancer walk for women, etc. The staff were invited to just go and do checks just routinely. That's how she found out she had breast cancer and was able to catch it early enough to be alive today. Same thing with my cousin who had prostate cancer. It was a visiting medical team that came to do a research on prostate cancer in the Caribbean, and he was part of that research team, just doing routine checks, and he found out he had prostate cancer. In my case, because I started to work in the health system and I wanted to just do checks because I had the availability to do it, that's how I found out that my PSA was rising. We're going to talk about that in a while. And that rising of the PSA triggered me to be able to take careful attention to that. And so that I am trying to install in people's hearts and their minds, do early checks for prostate cancer. Because even if it is not that you have prostate cancer, just the idea of knowing that you are cancer-free is enough for you to be able to say, just the joy of knowing that I don't have it is worth going and check for it. So in 2014 is when I noticed that my the PSA is what you call the prostate specific antigen, which is an indicator in your blood that indicates whether you have a rising PSA level or not. Now, it may not be that you have prostate cancer, but it does indicate that it is something that you need to have checked out. So in 2014, I noticed that it was at a 3 in 2014. And as I monitored it, by 2016, it was up to 19. The level that you should really be careful at is at 4, and under it should remain. But at 2016, it was at 19. I'm in my 50s. And I did not think that I would be one who would be suffering from prostate cancer in my early 50s. So by 2017, I had surgery. And that surgery was to have nerve-sparing radical prostatectomy to remove the prostate. I was fortunate, the doctor said, because it was still organ confined. So having had the surgery, I have done, I remember having come out of the surgery and the doctor saying that it was successful because it was organ confined. I came in time, and so they were able to remove the entire prostate and have everything. They checked around the prostate also to see if it may have escaped the prostate and recognized that it did not. So my birthday was in October this year, 2020. And I went and did my PSA again to see what is the level of the PSA. I keep checking on it every time to make sure it's not changing, even though the doctor would have done what he did. So my PSA level as of October 2020 is 0.0. 0.0. One of the things that I'm happy about my journey with prostate cancer is that when there are so many things that would affect the prostate, enlargement of the prostate that could restrict your urination, and then you could have the whole aspect of prostate cancer later on. But I felt a measure of gratitude having experienced this journey while I'm still strong enough to have taken the surgery and gone and done the journey. So I no longer have that matter to deal with. I can now look at other things in my health as I go along the road. In fact, the doctor did say, Mr. Stewart, I can't guarantee that you will never ever get cancer again. But I can tell you that you will never ever get prostate cancer again in your life. That is reassuring to me. And that's why whenever I check, ever since that surgery, and I keep checking and I see 0.0, I tell myself that is one thing off my hand. But then other things come up because now you have the issue of so many people having colon cancer. But because of that diligence, I went and had my colon checked. I had a colonoscopy and found out that there were 3 polyps. For those of you who know that want to have polyps, those polyps sometimes, not all the times, tend to graduate into to become cancerous and could lead to colon cancer. Because again, I did the early screening. That's the message I want to leave with you all today. Early screening. Men, we tend to fear the screening and doctors and examination and so on. Early screening, I was able to pick up that there were 3 polyps that were taken out. They were not cancerous, but that could have also been a contribution to saving my life many years down the road. So we've got to always check. Once you're between 40 years old and you are you have prostate cancer or cancer in your family, please go and get yourself checked. That PSA check is one of them. Then they would have a number of other ways that they would monitor you. They would have other methods that the doctors will use to be able to keep their eye on you to make sure that everything is going okay. If you have pain in your back, pain in your hips, your thighs, your shoulders, or other bones, don't take that lightly. Swelling or fluid buildup in your legs and your feet, do not take it lightly. Unexplained weight loss, fatigue, change in your bowel movement, then you should always take note of that. Not all of those symptoms, however, are cancerous, but you would want to make sure that you rule out cancer because it is of a higher rate of incidence in prostate cancer in men than it is with breast cancer in women. So as we close, let me give my advice to men. Monitor your PSA. Have a doctor, a family doctor, because your family doctor will be able to have your history. And also, make sure you do your own research on your age-specific issues. Make sure that you're always doing them yourself. Go to Google, go to YouTube, check out what's happening there. You can live a long and healthy life if you do the right thing by making sure you are vigilant with your health. All men, we love you all, and happy International Men's Day.
Michael, thank you for that. This is a topic, again, I wanted to hear your conversation, and I'm sure many men out there, whether they wanted to hear it or not, this is a topic they needed to hear. I think media has scared us off of going to do that test. You know, some of us even, I imagine the white glove snap, you know what I mean? So we don't want to go get our prostate checked, but really the next 10, 20, 30 years of our life really depend on getting checked and early screening, like you mentioned. Thank you for that. Before I move on, I just want to draw our attention once again to our art competition. We want you to represent International Men's Day. Tell your story through your art. Now you can use paintings, drawings, any animation for physical art. You could do a theatrical or stage performance, or a speech and record it on video, or you can do a writing, so you can put in an article, short story, or a poem. We want your art representing International Men's Day. The deadline for that is Sunday, December 20th. I will talk about that more at the end of the show. So our next speaker he spent the last 8 years of his life learning and studying in the field of personal development, because at the age of 39, he had a nervous breakdown like many men. And, he thought his life was falling apart. Personally, he was about to lose his wife, house, job. It was all falling apart on him. And he had to wake up and change his life. And one message kept moving him forward. And that was, there has to be a better way. And so, oh yeah, that's me. I'm RJ Horner, host and facilitator for a community called Live and Love Life. And my topic today is the betterment of mankind. And you may notice, betterment of mankind. In those words are the words men and mind, because that's become my mission. I want to build better men for better mankind. That's the purpose. See, I had to learn how to be a man. Not because my father wasn't in my life, or he passed on or anything. He still existed, but I lived in one side of the city. He lived in the northwest end of the city. I lived in the southeast, or vice versa. And him always changing his phone number. He just wasn't there for me when a man needs it most. At those influential years from 14 to 21. My father actually passed away when I was 21, but prior to that time we didn't have a lot of communication, and at least not communication about manhood and becoming a man. And I had examples to follow, of course. I had my uncles who were still close to me and lived nearby, and of course they were who I emulated or looked up to as men. Those were my examples to follow. And of course there were other decent men out there trying to live good lives. But who do I follow? Who do I want to represent, or what kind of man do I want to become? I have to look at these men and choose an example or examples from these men. So I was left to wonder, what is a man, first of all, because how do you become a man? What makes you a man? When are you a man? These are questions that you do have when you're in your young adult phase. You want to know, when am I a man? At what time? Is there a date? Is there a stage? Is there something I have to do to become a man? So for me and many like me, we were left to our own devices, and that time was a time of discovery because we had no guidance. We had no male influence. Personally, again, mine was because my father was estranged, right? There are plenty of absentee fathers out there for whatever reason. There are just fathers who are not in their children's lives. And especially at young adulthood, we need our fathers. We need that male influence. There's some orphans out there who there's no possibility that they have that manly influence unless they get involved with the community they live in. And then there's other fathers out there that they're in their children's lives, but they're just, I think it was Steve who mentioned it earlier, they're just not active. They're just not involved in the lives of their children. And so they get left to their own devices, again, to figure it out for themselves. Now, when I could call myself a man, finally, I think I did a good job, right? I tell people I'm a nice guy, but sometimes people piss me off. But truthfully, I wasn't. And those times were a lot. They were often. I was pushing people away from me. And I had no control over who I was. I wasn't a good guy. I had come to realize because I had no control. I would burst out at a moment's notice, and I was pushing people away from me. And that attitude almost cost me. I almost lost it all. My house, my job, and my wife, all within 2 months of a period of span where things were just falling apart because of who I was and what I was doing as a person. So when I woke up, and I did wake up because otherwise I was about to lose it all, I knew I needed to change. Now, thankfully, I was able to embrace that. I was able to accept that. I was able to understand me, learn about me, and get me back. Now, I did seek a counselor. Not many people can do that. Men are afraid, A, to seek help, B, to get guidance from somebody else, or to have somebody tell them how they should live their life. But I got me back through the help of that counselor and through my continuous journey to grow and learn about that better way. So I spent years studying betterment. I figured and then I began to learn, if I had trouble being a man, there's got to be others who are lost in that journey too. And so I came up with a new mission. This excited in me a new mission and a purpose for my life. I was to find those men. I was to engage those men and help create better men. Now, again, you may have noticed that I said that better men equals betterment of mankind. See, I'm RJ Horner, and I made it my part to help create better men. Better men with better attitudes, better understanding, better compassion, and better relationships. By creating better men, we make better friends. We create unity among people. We make better families because we create better sons, brothers, uncles. We make better fathers and husbands. Overall, we make a better society, which is a betterment of mankind. Because of making better male beings, society whole becomes better, which is reinforced by the meaning of life. Now, I believe this to be the absolute meaning of life. The purpose of all life is to grow and become better, to become the best we can. So I'm looking to help create better men, not just for me, not just so I have better men around me, so that I can create a better society because I create better fathers, better husbands, better lovers, better relationships between people. That led me to my vision, which was all of us. And here's how I got involved with Voice of Men 360 and International Men's Day. Because I am now working together for a better tomorrow. That's what it means for me to have betterment of mankind. Thank you for that. And I hope to connect with men out there who can help make this world a better place. Thank you. So we will move on to our final speaker of the afternoon. And that, yep.
Before we move into the next speaker, I want to really add a couple of things about your speech, brother, because it's not easy to come into the public face of eye and then share your personal story. I really admire, and then I really, thank you for that, and everything happening for a reason. That's what I believe. And also, see, right now we are connected. Whatever we are searching for, it is searching us too, right? So I really want to tell everybody, take this message and then, talk to somebody. Because otherwise, if you took some other ways or some other decision, we wouldn't be here, right? You wouldn't be here. So somehow it struck you that you had to seek somebody, or you had to seek some kind of help. That's why you are here, right? So the inner calling never let you down.
Thank
right?
you. And
So you are
I
here.
want to say
Thank
the
you,
same
brother.
thing for everybody out there who joined us this week and today. You know what? It takes a very special person to come out and share their stories. We've had some personal stories to hear today, especially with Michael. Michael, that's a journey that some people just can't talk about and men need to hear. So thank you, everybody who's sharing their stories to help raise awareness for men's issues and help to make this world a better place. I don't know what Voice of Men is going to become, but I want to encourage men to come to Voice of Men 360, and let's make this that forum for helping to make change in the world of men. And, again, betterment for mankind. Very good. Thank you. And we're going to move on to our last speaker of the evening, our birthday boy. Mohammed Camran is from Pakistan. He's a student of law who'll be graduating soon. He's a youth minister for human rights at the Provincial Youth Assembly, and he's a member of the Peace Club in Pakistan. Mohammed Camran, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, especially Sivan Bro and RJ Arner, and especially to Sivan Bro who has mentioned about my birthday too. So I'm thankful to you guys, and this is an honor to be here, to be a part of this event, and a very happy International Men's Day to all of men out there.
It is our gift for you, birthday gift for you.
Yeah, of course, it is. Indeed it is. Thank you so much to you to giving me this opportunity on the 17th of November. So I'm 23 now. So first, I'll take the first few minutes to say things in my own language, in Pashto, and then I'll switch to English. Right? Is it okay to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So okay. So د سړو په باره کې یو ډېر زوړ سټیریوټایپ دی. سټیریوټایپ مطلب دی چې د خلک په هغوی په باره کې لکه چې ته سړی جوړېدل غواړې، ته یو ځوان جوړېدل غواړې، نو هغې دپاره به ته یو څو شیزونه کوالیفای کې، کوم ته موږ جنټلمین هم وایو. نو چې ته یو ځوان جوړېږې، ته یو جنټلمین جوړېږې، نو ته به د هغې دپاره یو څو شیزونه کوالیفای کې. ټولنه لومبه خبره ده چې ته به ډېر سترونګ یې، تاسو به خپل باډي به دی وي، ته به ایموشنلی ډېر سترونګ یې، ته به جاړې نه، سړی جاړي نه. څوک تاسو کې ولې نه جاړي؟ هغه وی چې یار بس نه جاړي. نو سړی ولې نه جاړي؟ ځکه چې بس سړی نه جاړي. خټیک ته زو به منو سړی نه جاړي. بل دا دی چې هغه به همیشه ډېر ښکلی ډریسینګ کړي، ډریس پراپر به کړي، که نه؟ لکه فار ایگزامپل زموږ په دې ایج کې مونږ چېرته پارټي له لاړ شو، چېرته ویلکم پارټي وي، فیرویل پارټیز وي، نو مونږ به همیشه پکې 2 پیس یا 3 پیس سوټ اچو. دا به یو جنټلمین وي. که دا نی نو هغه به بیا جنټلمین نه وي. ټیک شو. دوی به همیشه بالکل ټیک خبره کوي. ټول خلک به د دوی سایډ ورکوي. او که څوک دوی ته ووایي چې ته غلطه خبره کوې، نو داسې نشي کېدی. دوی به همیشه ټیک خبره کوي. لکه که دوی غلطه خبر وکړه، دوی به هغه جنټلمین به نه وي. بله خبره دا ده چې دوی کومه لینګویج هم وایي، هغه به دوی ډېر پرفیکټ اکسنټ سره وایي، ځکه چې دا جنټلمین کار دا دی، ډېر پرفیکټ وي، هغې کې هر څه پرفیکټ وي. که هغه کچن کې کار نشي کولی، نو بالکل څه خبره نه ده، اټس اوکې، فاین، بالکل څه خبره نشته. خو هغه به خپل ټای جوړول زده کوي، هغه ته ټای جوړول ورځي، هغې سره به هغه له ډرایوینګ کول ورځي. د هغه به ټول شوقونه د سړو والی، ځکه چې بیا به د هغه مردانګي په کوېسچن کې راشي چې دا سړی نه دی. خلک وایي دا ډو سړی نه دی. که هغه د چا مخ کې وجړل، دا سړی نه دی. که هغه خپل ایموشنز شو که هغه کله هرټ شو ایموشنلی، وی به دا سړی نه دی. مونږ چې واړه یو، مونږ ته خلک وایي چې یار سړی جاړي نه، او مطلب دا ډېر کامن دی. وي سړی کمزورې مزه نه کوي، سړی سترونګ مزه کوي، تکړه مضبوط مزه کوي. ټیک ته ومنو، دا ومنو. نو مونږه سړی په دې سړی هم انسانان وي، د هغوی هم زړه وي، خو هغه زړه باندې سوشل کور وي، چې کوم مطلب مونږ ځان سخت کړی وي، هر څه ته مونږ هر څه کولو ته تیار یو، خو زموږ ایموشنز به مونږ بهر نه راوباسو. مونږ د چا مخکې جاړو نه، مونږ به همیشه پرفیکټلی ځان جوړو. که دې هر څه نه مونږ لږ هم لاندې شو، نو مونږ به مردانګي زموږ کوېسچن کې راشي. که چېرته د الګ هابیز د سړو په شانتې نه وي، لکه فار ایگزامپل د هغه هابیز لکه ګیټار نه وي، یا چېرته ډرایوینګ نه وي، یا د هغه داسې ټایپ د سړو هابیز نه وي، څه لږ اخوا دیخوا وي، دا د هغه مردانګي په کوېسچن کې راشي. نو سړي دپاره دا ډېره غټه خبره ده چې هغه خپل هر څه به د سړو په شانتې ساتي، ادروایز د هغه ټول مردانګي په کوېسچن کې راشي. فاینلي زه دا ویل غواړم خپل ګرانو خپلو ته، خپل زما فرینډز ته، چې راځئ چې مونږ لږ دې کې چینج راولو. ټیک ده، دا هر څه چې ما وویلې دا هم ضروري دي، دا هم پکار دي، خو دې سره سره که یو کس وي هغه سترونګ وي، ټیک ده، ډېر ښکلی مزه کوي، ډېره ښه مزه کوي چې ښکلی ځوان وي، خو که هغې سره لږ ایموشنل وي، نو خیر دی، ټیک ده، هغه له لږ اجازت ورکړي چې لږ ایموشنل کېدی شي. که هغه چېرته هرټ شي، هغه خفه شي، او هغه سترګو نه اوښکې لاړې شي د چا مخکې، نو دا نه دی چې هغه سړی نه دی، هغه ښځونک دی، داسې نه ده. هغه فیلینګز لري، او فیلینګز یې هرټ کېدی شي، ایموشنز یې هرټ کېدی شي. نو که دا هرټ شي او هغه د چا مخکې وجاړي او څه وښي، اټس اوکې دی، فاین دی، خیر دی، هغه له دونه موقع ورکوي. دې سره که د هغه چېرته فارملي ډریسینګ ونه کړي، هغه چېرته ټي شرټ کې لاړ شي چېرته پارټي ته، بیا هم خیر دی. او دې سره سره که هغه نه چېرته غلطي وشي، نو خیر دی، هغه ته معافي کوئ. بله دا ده زما په خیال کې یو جنټلمین هغه دی چې کوم نه چېرته غلطي وشي، نو هغه خپلې غلطي باندې د هغې سوري وکړي، د هغې اپالوجي وکړي، او بل کس نه د هغې معافي وغواړي. هغه یو اکچوال جنټلمین دی. نو خیر دی که چېرته ځوان دی، نو او هغه چېرته غلطي تېر شوه، نو هغه ته معافي وکړي. او که هغه چېرته د چا مخکې وجړل، نو خیر دی، انسان دی، خفګان راځي. نو دا زما طرف نه یو ورکوټې غوندې میسج دی تاسو ټولو ته. So it was all in my language. I will switch now to English. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
All right. So there is a common stereotype about men. For men to qualify to be a gentleman, there is a few stages that you have to qualify. For example, you need to be really strong, like body wise. You need to be really tough. You need to be really emotionally strong, and you won't be crying in front of anyone. If you cry in front of anyone, people's gonna question your manliness. They're gonna question your heroism, they're going to question you that he's too girly. No, he just cried in front of that person. So okay, but if we ask someone why men doesn't cry, they would say because men doesn't cry. Yeah, but why? We don't know. Just they doesn't cry. Okay, okay, fine. We say that okay, men doesn't cry. Men cannot cry in front of anyone. Then whatever language they're speaking, they must be speaking it perfectly. Their accent should be perfect. Because why? Because they are gentlemen. Gentlemen are always perfect. Then they won't be saying anything wrong. Like if they said anything wrong, they are not gentlemen anymore. They always have to be so perfect in everything. And along with that, whenever they go to a function or a program or a party, they will be wearing formal dress like a three-piece or a two-piece suit, because he's a gentleman. He has to, he has to dress like that. And along with that, he has to have some attitude, like how to talk to people. This is how a gentleman should be. This is I'm just telling the social covers that man has to wrap himself in. And apart from that, his favorite color, yeah, that's so interesting. His favorite color must be dark color, for example black or something like that. If his favorite color isn't black or something, he's too girly. If he has a favorite color pink, he's too girly. And like, we all want to be gentlemen, but we also know that it's wrong for men to be gentle. Like, we cannot be gentle, but at the same time we all have to be gentlemen. There is something wrong, isn't it? Along with that, all his hobbies should be like men. For example, playing guitar, driving. These should be his hobbies. If not like these, he's too girly. Apart from that, it's okay for a man that if he cannot work in the kitchen, but he should know how to tie his knot. This is how they say a gentleman should be. Like, it's fine if he cannot work at all in the kitchen, as long as he can uh, tie his knot, as long he can drive, he's man good. So in the last, I just want to say, and I just want to give a small message, like, all whatever I said for a man, okay, that's fine. He should have all these things. He can have all these things. He should dress properly. He should talk perfectly in perfect accent. He should know how to tie his knot. But along with all these things, I want to say that if his favorite color isn't black, if his favorite color is some light color, for example, pink or red, it's okay. If he cannot tie his knot, and if he is good in some kitchen work, it's okay. It isn't like that he is not man anymore. Like, we cannot question his manliness. Come on. Apart from that, if his hobby is somewhat like girls, it's okay, he can have that. To me, a true gentleman is the one who can get wrong, but he would then apologize for that. He would then make up for all his mistakes. He can commit mistake, but he will then apologize. He will accept his mistake. That's how a true gentleman is to me. Apart from that, a true gentleman is the one who can cry. I will say again, he can cry. He is a human being. He has heart, and it can hurt. He has emotions. He has feelings. And if someone hurts his feelings, come on, he can cry. And there's no bad thing. We cannot question his manliness over it, because it's not that only women can cry and men would always be so strong that they won't be able to cry. Like, there is no such rule. This is all the rules made up by us. So as I said, men also has heart. They can hurt, but that heart is wrapped by social cover, that he has to do few things. He has to qualify these things. Otherwise, he knows that his manliness would be in question. That people would say, "Oh no, he's too girly. He isn't a man." So for a man, it's hard to prove his manliness all the time. He is, he is the savior. He is, at the end of the day, he has to save the day. He always have to play too cool. He always have to be too disciplined, which I think is wrong. Men should always be given an opportunity to live the life as they want it to be. They can have their own hobbies, the things that they love. They can wear whatever they want. As I said, that it's okay if they want to go to a party in formal 2 or 3-piece suit, but it's okay if they go to a party in his t-shirt or his jeans. It's okay. We cannot say that he's not a gentleman. Look what he's wearing. A gentleman is a person living inside him, not the outside that we see. So to me, a gentleman is the person who has a certain amount of attitude, but he knows how I would talk to others and how I would respect others. That is a true gentleman. A person who knows how to talk to elders and how to talk to youngsters. That's a true gentleman. A person who can show his emotions. And if he gets hurt, it's okay if he cries. He's a human after all. And once again, I would say a gentleman can commit mistakes. It's not that if he committed mistakes, he is no more a gentleman. He can commit mistakes, but at the end of the day, he will accept his mistake and he will make up to his mistake. Whatever he has done, he will make up to it. So that's a small message from my side, that please don't treat men as if they are not humans. They are robots. They are also humans. They have heart and they have feelings. They have emotions and they can get hurt. This was all from my side. So thank you so much.
Mohammed, thank you for calling me a gentleman. I don't know how well you've gotten to know me, but you described me to a T.
Yeah, I did.
Again, you know what? I like to be a civilized person. I'm human. I get it wrong from time to time. I don't always say the right thing. But sure enough, if something comes out of my mouth that's uncalled for, I apologize. I let people know what we're up to, right? That this isn't the way we should behave. So you're right. You know what? We have a certain reputation to uphold as men, but also we have to be able to be human. I know for me, I'd like to say this, that part of my growth into manhood was I had to learn how to let my emotions out, right? Because we have to control ourselves, but to let my emotions flow, to allow myself to cry if I was going to cry. And I'm still a man. I'm still a gentleman. I'm still a good guy. Thank you for your talk today. You go and enjoy the rest of your day. Happy birthday to you, sir. Wonderful. And that's our speakers today. I think we've had a great show so far today. There's a lot of interesting topics that have come up. I really want you to pay attention to some of our speakers today, because there's a lot of valuable messages about understanding men, about learning how to deal with men, and then men, how to take care of ourselves. Because again, let's not forget, our theme for International Men's Day this year is healthy minds and bodies. So we're working towards that mission here. And again, we are Voice of Men 360. We are the voice of men around the globe. So thank you. That's day 4 in the books of 6 days of talks, including International Men's Day, which is November 19th. So once again, now I would like to take more of an opportunity and discuss our art competition, where we want you to represent International Men's Day and our theme for this year, which is healthy minds and bodies, through your art. Our art competition, where you can draw a picture, you can do an animation, a painting, or you can do something theatrical, a performance art, where you can do a musical song, a fashion show, a stage performance, a speech, or something in writing. Let's see your poems, your articles, your short stories. And the deadline for this competition is Sunday, December 20th. Please visit our website, www.voiceofmen360, for more. Our sponsors who made this happen are Right Choice Professionals. And we have Wood Gold LLP Barristers and Solicitors. We have Macamet and Agostino Mortgage Group. You'll get a $500 gift with the purchase or a mortgage. And then finally, our website support came from DF Credit Solutions. And they're for settlements, consumer proposals, and bankruptcies. Once again, we are a not-for-profit organization. So we want to work with you. If you're a corporation that wants to get into philanthropy, you're a speaker, an author who has a message to share, we want to hear from you. We want your help. We are a not-for-profit organization, so we want volunteers and people who are going to help carry this message forward and help raise the voice of men. So we're always looking for volunteers. And then we are a live, ongoing talk show. And so we're always looking for guests. Please reach out to us again at our website, voiceofmen360.com, or email us at info@voiceofmen360. And I apologize, I need to correct. Our website is voiceofmen360.org. And so our email is info@voiceofmen360.org. We have our Facebook channels. Please visit us there. Maybe some of you watched it on there today. Like and become a member of our Voice of Men 360 Facebook group. And of course, our YouTube channel where you can find our videos. Please like and subscribe for our videos there. If you want to reach out to us by telephone, our number is 647-424-2251. So once again, that's 647-424-2251. I think we've represented International Men's Day very well. We are Voice of Men 360. Thank you for joining us here today. Please come back tomorrow at 10 a.m. and Thursday, 10 a.m., where we're going to host some panel discussions. So please join us. Thank you, and better days ahead.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you, everyone. Give me 1 second.